I'm Rosanna Miller.
Yes, that's the Miller in particular. I'm sorry you weren't here at 8:30. I discussed kind of what I thought was essentially the limited nature of my responsibility in this matter. And that's the only thing that I would be looking into would be the wrongful death action. I would not be looking into any of the other matters which have been litigated at length in this case, which are reflected in these files here to my right. And said because of the apparent shortness of notice to you and James Miller, set a further hearing on August 30th at this location. And at that time I would be interested in hearing from you and your brother with regard to information related specifically and solely to the issue of the wrongful death action. And if you have something you'd like to say, ma'am, that'd be fine.
Am I willing to call you? I mean, is it all right if I call you?
If you call me?
Contact you?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that'd be fine. Let me just put on the record, I would, if there's going to be, I would rather have you deal with me in writing.
Right.
Honestly, okay? As James Miller indicated, he wanted to be dealt with in writing, and that's fine. That's the way we have no confusion over who said what to whom. So we'll do that. My address is P.O. Box 839.
It's on the
Paperwork, yes,
okay.
in Lima, Ohio. And that will be where you would mail materials to me. I would appreciate if you're mailing something to me to look at, I guess I would prefer that you file it with the clerk of the court and send a copy to me and a copy to James Miller.
so it gets in the record.
That's right. I'd rather have it in the record, and therefore we can all say, here's the piece of paper
So the ex parte.
that we all relied upon, and they're either good, bad, or indifferent, but we're all on the same page in terms of the paperwork. Okay? Now, ma'am, I would also ask you, since apparently I wanted to see whether there were materials you wanted to bring. If you want, this is the court record sitting here next to me here in this case and the related cases, the guardianship case, and the pending wrongful death case in common pleas court. If there are any documents in particular that you want me to pay attention to, then I would appreciate your, in the filing that you make with the court, identify those documents, maybe by docket number. I don't think there's any need for you to copy it unless you think the court's version is not correct. And I have no reason to believe that's true, but you're a participant apparently from the record for a number of years. Okay. And so what I'm asking you to help me do is to do what Judge Waters has asked me to do, and that is to evaluate this particular claim and then to make a recommendation to him as the judge in this matter as to whether that matter should be pursued or not.
I was also wondering, my biggest concern in all of this was,
Can you hear? Okay, very well.
was upholding my mom's will. That's very, very important. And I know it's been torn apart into pieces. And my parents' estate and their wishes together. And if we can't honor the dead, we're not going to honor the living. But what I was going to ask you was, I'm hoping that at some point, I mean, is it going to be possible to deposition the law enforcement, which is the Bell Fountain Police Department, the prosecutor's office, the two coroners who were involved in this? There's a lot of errors, egregious errors that were made in this.
I don't want to prejudge sitting here today.
Okay.
Yes or no on that issue. I have read the file. Okay. And part of the reason why I wanted you and your brother's assistance in this matter was having read the file, and again, I'm coming into it late in the process, obviously. I think I have a pretty good handle on the issues that have been raised, the allegations of misconduct, the problems. I think I'm aware of those issues. But I don't think, ma'am, that in terms of the judge's order appointing me as the administrator, I think the answer, I think it's, in my opinion, it's too late for me to reinvent the wheel. Okay. What I'm going to look at, as I mentioned prior to your coming in, is solely the question of, is there a basis to file a wrongful death suit against your brother?
But doesn't that take forensic evidence?
Well,
And
I'm saying, I mean, that probably, okay. I'm saying
which
that-
which was asked, wasn't done. There's a lot of, and that's a big part of proving a case. Not that we don't know that there isn't probable cause, that's already been determined. And for a civil wrongful death suit, that's what you need. For criminal, it's beyond reasonable doubt. And I know you know that. I'm not trying to, but.
You may tell me anything you'd like, ma'am.
No, but I'm not trying to insult. I'm not trying, but I'm just saying I know from this side, there was a lot of big mishaps.
Right, but what I want you to understand, ma'am, is that I'm not going to relitigate the past 4 years.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about on the other side.
Right. All I'm saying is that to the extent that there is information that needs to be acquired from third parties with regard to what they did or did not do during the investigation of your mother's death, okay, in terms of whether there is a basis for the wrongful death suit, I'm going to entertain that question in the context of civil litigation. Okay, I'm not going to reinvent the criminal side of the case. That's over. That's done, in my opinion, looking at the record. Okay. Now, you're certainly free to whatever I recommend to Judge Walters, as the record reflects. You all are very competent in terms of handling appeals, okay, or filing mandamus actions. So the only thing I'm going to say to you is, and the reason I wanted to have the meeting today was to indicate I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. I'm going to focus on, is there a basis sitting here today, okay, this many years later. And why do I say it that way? Is because questions of proof, which might have been easier to have achieved years ago, may not ultimately, in my opinion, be so easy to achieve today.
Are you talking about the forensic evidence side that's been lost?
Well, I'm saying it's a problem, because the answer is, whoever did whatever wrong, that's your allegation, which of course it is from the record, then if we were to have a trial tomorrow morning, the answer is, how would one prove certain things? And as a lawyer, that's what I'm going to look at. And even if I happen to be of the view that there may be a claim, and if I don't believe I can prove it, I'm not going to pursue it. Okay, but I will investigate fairly whatever information you bring to my attention, or additional people that you think I need to speak with. We will do that.
Now, right there before you, or beside you, that is strictly the civil side of the probate, and that is strictly a guardianship and an estate hearing. That doesn't have anything to do, although there were things entered, that doesn't have anything to do with the flip side of my mother's death and the investigation and everything that should have gone on with that. So that's just the civil side sitting there. If you was so
include some of the investigation.
It does? From the prosecutor's office?
I saw some papers there from the Bell Fountain Police Department.
Yeah, but I'm saying those aren't the files from the Bell Fountain Police Department, are they?
Well, I think there was one pleading that was in one hearing.
Yeah, but they're things we put in. Yeah, so that is not the file. What I'm trying to say is, that is not the case file from the police file. That's not the case file from the police department.
I think that's probably correct.
Yeah, and it's not probably the case file from the prosecutor's office.
That's probably correct.
Okay, so that's just the civil probate side with the guardianship and the estate hearing, which that's, there have been things put in, but that's only pieces and parts, and, so it's coming into that.
You identify things that you think I need to look at. I'm not committing to go. First of all, I'm not sure I have the authority, so that'll be the first thing. I'll listen to your issues that you would like to have further pursued, and then I will attempt to research and resolve the question as to whether I have authority to do that. And then if I think I do, I will seek a court order accordingly.
Yeah, and of course, we're dealing with an issue in the Bell Fountain Police Department where last year the police chief was forced out of office.
I'm not familiar with that because one of the reasons why Judge Waters appointed me is because I wasn't familiar with anything. I'm from the area, I'm obviously in the area. I drive through Bell Fountain. I know some of the attorneys. I teach at Ohio Northern, so a number of the attorneys in town went to Ohio Northern. Mr. Gossley in particular was in fact one of my students many years ago. Ms. Beck was one of my students many years ago, so I'm not unfamiliar with some of the individual people, not at all with their relationship to Bell Fountain, but with their relationship to Ohio Northern.
Well, I'm just saying there's a history there of, You know, and it affects the department, and it affects how they do their job. And so we need to address that and find out why this stuff was cut off. Somewhere along the line, it was cut off. And we need to find out, because we need to get at somebody's death that was.
All right, but I'm telling you, ma'am, I want to make sure that we're on the same page. You don't have to agree with me, and I don't have to agree with you, but I'm saying I just want to be clear. I read the judge's order to limit my authority to address the issue. Is there a basis for a civil wrongful death suit? That may require some investigation of the criminal proceedings that were involved in this matter. I'm not resolving that issue today. I will investigate as fairly as I can the issues you bring to my attention, either in paper, or maybe the clerk's office, and the 30th when we have our next meeting. And I will try to do my job as fairly and promptly as I can.
And one of the things that sums up the probable cause for a civil wrongful death suit is Detective Sebring was on the stand 2 years ago, and he did testify under oath that he did submit it to the prosecutor's office for criminal charges to be filed, because there was probable cause in the case. So, but we're having trouble finding that form. So we got some things to,
All right, and when you identify them, and I know you're able to do that because I've read many of your pleadings, okay, so I know that you're able to do it. I will treat you fairly even though you don't have an attorney, and that's fine. And you may wish to have an attorney, that's fully up to you, okay? You may find attorneys that are helpful or unhelpful, and that's fine, okay? But I'm saying I will attempt to do what I believe Judge Ward wanted me to do. I'm going to have two other items marked. One is going to be a C, which is going to be the journal entry regarding improving the inventory and the appraisement, and as exhibit, or as exhibit D, dog, the judgment entry from Judge Ward, essentially describing what I was supposed to do, which is all the
in June 19th.
June 16th, yes.
So, and that is what? What's the other form?
The journal entry approving the inventory and closing the probate case, subject to your motion to reopen. This was the final where they approved the inventory.
For my mother's estate?
Yes.
Yeah, we were refused entrance into that.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to...
We were refused entrance.
I'm trying to have this hearing, or this meeting's date, to kind of describe some closure around the issue, okay? I'm not starting the case over again, which maybe you'd like to have happen, but I'm not going to do that, okay? I don't believe I have the authority to do that. So what I do is going to be limited to, is there a basis for me as the substitute administrator to file a wrongful death suit? And I will try to review any evidence that's available that is available to essentially put on as a witness at a civil proceeding in the Court of Common Pleas. That's what I'll be looking at. And I will try to do that fairly, and if I believe there's evidence to proceed, and that there are witnesses that are presently available that can testify, and I believe that I can prove that case, then I will in fact proceed. If I conclude that even though there may be claims, but I can't prove them today, then I will not proceed.
Now, will you be getting the Bell Fountain Police Department's file on this?
I'm going to be getting, between now, so I'll be clear, between now and August 30th, I'm getting nothing. I'm going to be waiting to see what it is you all think would be appropriate to have me look at.
Oh, okay, so we'll...
But I mean, that's not to say that on September 1st, I won't make such a request.
May I share with you that I've tried to get that file public records request, and the attorneys have written me, I don't know if you know about this, the attorneys have written me and told me that it is still an open case, so they will not allow me to have the file at the Bell Fountain Police Department on my mother.
I've read those clues.
Okay.
And I don't have an opinion as to whether that's a correct statement, or I don't have an opinion as to whether that's a correct statement of the law or not. You know, I mean, I will look into it, but I'm saying sitting here today, I saw that request was made, I saw what the response was. I have not researched it further. That's all I'm saying. Yes, ma'am. And you are, for the record?
Nancy Miller.
Okay, thank you.
I was just wondering, I know that Rosanna and James are supposed to be deposed, but if there's any information that I would like to send to you, is that possible?
That'd be fine. And I, again, as I mentioned to Roseanne, if you would send that, if you would file it as a pleading to the court, you can do it. You can do it. Look, as a lawyers, we like it all looking nice, okay? But that, I don't care about that, okay? So if you want to write it in your handwritten, okay, that's fine. Whatever you want to do is fine. But send a copy, you know, to Roseanne. Send a copy to James. Send a copy to me. Okay. And that way we're all dealing with the same piece of paper. I don't want somebody to walk in and say, oh, well, here's something I gave to Mr. French, which I didn't give to the others of you.
It has to have the.
I don't want, and I mean, and that, look, I've been a lawyer for a number of years, so I'm just saying, let's try to create the paper trail, make that correct, so it's a matter of public record, so that we're all on the same page.
It has to have the certificate of service on it.
That's right. So whatever the document is, certificate of service, I'm sending a copy today, my first class mail, however you want to do it, my hand delivery, my carrier pigeon, whatever it is you like. And that's what we'll do.
Just
Okay.
one last question. I see you have all the files there. Terry Ralph told me that you would have the files. There was, will these, all these records be given back to Terry? So
They will be.
okay, I'll just ask her.
I'm not a custodian for the county, so I mean, she is a custodian for the county in terms of its official records.
Right, there was a copy of something that I wanted, but
Okay.
I'm sure that Terry would be able to
Yes.
find it.
If you can identify the document in some fashion, I'm sure she can find it.
Yes. Well, she told me to ask you today, but
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to provide it today because I don't want to essentially have any adverse impact on these records. These are the county's records. The county's in charge of them. They were sitting here today, actually, I think. If there was some reason we needed to refer during today's deposition to some particular piece of paper, then we might have it available to us here. But since we're not going to proceed today in that fashion, then we don't need to review the file today. So she will have them all again shortly. Anything else for you, ma'am? Any other questions or comments you wish to make?
Yeah, I understand, the guardianship and the estate is not something that, that's there. But my issue was the civil wrongful death suit, and that, somebody be held accountable for this, of what's happened. And I'm desperate to find the answers of why the things that weren't done forensically and lawfully, we need to do what we can out of that to salvage that and gather that, because it's the heart of all this.
Well, ma'am, the only thing I want to say about that is that I'm not appointed in this matter. That would be a possible appointment, not of me in particular, but of someone, of a special prosecutor to look into, how the criminal investigation was done or not done. Okay, and that's why I'm trying to be clear with you, and you're resisting my being clear with you, which is fine. And that is to say, I'm going to look with your assistance and with Mr. Miller's assistance if he chooses to participate. I'm going to look at what evidence is available today. Okay, whether there should be more or not, I'm not going to consider that question. That's not my charge. My charge is, can I bring a wrongful death suit? Do I have evidence available to me as a moving party, as the plaintiff? Do I have evidence that I believe as a lawyer is sufficient to allow a finder of fact, a jury, or a judge to conclude that there's in fact a basis for a wrongful death action? I'm not in charge of making the Bell Mountain Police Department run properly. I mean, that'd be nice, I guess, in the abstract. Okay, that's not my job. Okay? So I want you to understand, and you can make the request that whatever you think is appropriate, and I'm going to look at it from the point of view of what I'm saying to you now, of what I perceive my role to be, which I think is probably more narrow than you think it should be. But that's what I'm going to do.
Well, what about anything that could have been done that still can be done?
Well, no, I mean,
Is that a possibility?
I'm in my position, I'm not going to prejudge sitting here today, and I may feel differently in a month, okay? I'm not going to prejudge sitting here today that the Bell Mountain Police Department did anything wrong.
No.
No.
Yeah, I'm saying, but what if you find out there is something that still could be tested?
Then I might be suggest to the judge that he direct that to occur.
So anyway, okay, and I'm not trying to resist, I'm just wanting to make sure I really understand, that's all.
Right.
There's a difference.
Correct. I mean, and I understand your concerns, because I've read the records, so I'm familiar with your concerns. On the other hand, I think your concerns in part go to a different issue, which is perhaps the appointment of a special prosecutor. That's a different issue. That's not me. It's beyond my authority, and I don't plan to use that authority. I plan to say, is there a way I can consider producing a case? That's what I think Judge Waters wants me to look at. Is there a basis to bring today, or within 6 months, or whatever the time frame is, a wrongful death action? And if there isn't, then whether or not there are problems in terms of other agencies of government, I'm not going to solve those. I may comment upon them in terms of why I'm today unable to proceed if that be the outcome.
Although a jury would decide a civil wrongful death suit, right?
Correct.
And the detective has said that he's submitted with probable cause to the prosecutor for criminal charges to be filed. So I just wanted that on the record, and I just I was to the understanding through this, the subpoena was very vague. I mean, it was open to anything, and I'm thinking, okay, that's what was going through my mind. And it was very, and I didn't know, I thought we were actually going to be deposed to be answering questions, and I didn't know what I needed, so, you know, I was sitting in a world of tizzy.
I will tell you quite honestly, the subpoena was not written by me. The subpoena, though, was occasioned by my report, which said I would speak to the two principals, you and your brother. And at that point, I had not reviewed the files. Okay, so I'm just coming into this from the outside saying, I don't know much about these cases, and so you help me focus on what's important. Now, I would say to you, in the interim, I have read the files. So I'm more familiar at this point than I was when that was written. And the other factor was, I thought they would be in theory served earlier than they were, which would give you more time. So I appreciate the concern in terms of not being able to prepare.
I've been in.
That's why we're setting the additional date on August 30th.
Okay.
Was the notice, I mean, for that, I never even saw that it was made a part of the record.
Well, it wouldn't be until there was a return, until the sheriff's return of service.
Well, I didn't even see where, like, the subpoena and the,
well, that's the only piece of paper there is really, is the one-page subpoena.
Oh, it wasn't even on the, I didn't see it on the internet.
I don't work for the clerk's office, ma'am. I don't know where that goes. I mean, and I guess if you say to me it's not on the record, I would say that's probably because what goes on the record is the return of service, reflecting from the sheriff's deputies, seeing the family. You're in Fairfield County, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay, in Fairfield County and Logan County when the subpoena was actually served. And I assume that will be part of the record at some point, and probably promptly. Okay. We need to accomplish anything else?
I just, I personally need some answers for the testing that was requested that wasn't done, the things that should, and we need, and the longer we wait, I hear from the mayor and other people, well, it's been this long now, you know, it's been too long, blah. So the longer we wait to do all these things, the farther it gets away from us.
Yeah, I understand, ma'am, and that's why we're going to have a prompt hearing on August 30th, and that's partially in response to your request for 30 days additional time.
Okay.
So that during that period of time, you can collect what it is you think I should be focused on, and the additional questions I should ask. Perfectly fair, because you all lived the case. I haven't. I'm not familiar with the case.
Well,
I became familiar with it when Judge Waters appointed me. Okay, so I know there is a case, but I mean, beyond that, do I know the personalities involved? No, I don't. I'm not familiar with the public officials of the city of Bellefontaine or Logan County. I wouldn't know them if I followed them. I know Mr. Gosley, who apparently is now the prosecuting attorney, who apparently was then the law director. I know him because he was a student, not because of his being here in Bellefontaine.
Mr. Gosley used to be the city prosecutor, now he's the county prosecutor.
that's what he just said.
And he's also a private attorney, apparently, looking at the record.
Right.
He was my parents' attorney.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah, and I'm thinking in my head, I mean, there's been pieces and parts put into this, especially, you know, James getting paid for if he's convicted for killing Mom, but things like that. But so what I send you will there might be some repeats, but I don't know what you've seen out of there and what you haven't, so.
Right, no, that's fine. You write whatever you think is appropriate, because I want to give you the opportunity for a fair airing of your concerns. And we'll try to do that to you. But I'm also going to say to you, at the end of the day, I may decide that some of those things are beyond my authority. And I will tell you that, and you can seek other authority.
What do you mean by beyond your authority? What do you mean by?
That was the answer on terms of the criminal matters are, in fact, would be the charge of a special prosecutor or the current prosecutor.
Oh, yeah, that would come from the prosecutor's
Right,
side.
that's- I mean, I'm here
Right.
purely as having concern over the civil litigation on the wrongful death.
Because Mr. Gosley would be a witness in this case, without a doubt. He's our, I mean, his confirmation to me is as much said so. So he couldn't handle the case in a criminal manner. If you are a witness as a prosecutor, we all know that you can't prosecute and be a witness, so,
I don't have an opinion on that issue.
yeah.
All right, in which case we stand adjourned at 9:09. We'll have the transcribed, made a matter of record. So if you all want to read what it was I thought I said, or what you all said, we'll have it as a matter of record. And Mr. James Miller has advised me that he was not going to appear because of the late notice. Are you Mr. Miller?
No, sir.
No, okay. I don't know. I don't know who anybody is, so that's fine. He advised me he was not going to appear, so that's fine. And
He didn't show this morning?
well, and you're right here.
Wasn't he subpoenaed?
Yes, he was subpoenaed, yes.
So it's okay, he calls in and doesn't show for a subpoena?
Well, I'm going to refer those matters to the judge, and the judge can decide what he thinks is appropriate to do for people's non-appearance. All right, stand adjourned in 9:09.
Good, because it's freezing.
2 minutes. I can change the writing.
1, 0.
You, sir?
Don Dietrich, D-E-T-R-I-C-K.
Okay, you've been there before.
He's my rock.
Yeah.
Here you go, somebody said.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye, Patty.